So today there's no footage that we filmed. Took it easy this day, so I thought I'd talk to you a little bit more about TaskRabbit and things you should know about being on the platform TaskRabbit, and actually really important things you should know. And let's get started. The number one thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that TaskRabbit, as a tasker, it is your own business. You're being contracted out by TaskRabbit. So you don't work for TaskRabbit, which means you're not covered by TaskRabbit. That means you need to keep track of the money you make, the expenses you put out for the money you make. Expenses include vehicles you use, so you have to keep track of mileage, gas, any repairs that go into that vehicle. If you're using public transit to get to a certain job, you keep track of what you spend for that public transit. Keeping track of expenses, which are normally billed out to the client, to the customer. So keeping track of those expenses still, but also making sure that those get billed out to the customer, and that the customer knows that they're going to get billed out for those expenses before you bill them out for it. You have to keep track of all these things. So you have to keep track of your own bookkeeping. So maybe taking a small bookkeeping course, which there's many free online. To keep track of all these things is really important. But not only that, but something that you won't know, because a lot of these platforms like Uber, Lyft, Skip the Dishes, all of these things, they don't make it clear about taxes. So as far as paying HST on these things, you need to keep track of that. You actually might be making less than you really are actually making. HST in Ontario, so talking about Canada specifically, in other provinces it might not be HST, it could be GST, PST, whatever it is, but those taxes are not included in the price. So if you're doing a task for $100 and that's what you bill at the customer, the HST is included in that price, so you're not making money on that 13%. So instead of making $100, you're actually only making $87, because then you need to remit that $13 from that $100 to the government come tax season. So this isn't made clear. Now, the exception to this is if you are not making over $30,000. If you're not making over $30,000, you're exempt from having to pay that HST to the government. However, in my case, since I am a business owner, TaskRabbit is only what I'm doing for the winter time. I have a landscape business during the summer, fall, spring seasons. I'm making over that amount, so I need to keep track of that HST, and that HST is going to be remitted, so I'm not making that full 100% on every task. On the flip side of this, as a business owner, you're not paying HST on things you buy for your business. So things like gas, office expenses, things like this that I'm paying HST on, I'm actually going to get that HST back. So as far as not making everything I'm making on TaskRabbit, anything I buy expense-wise for my business, tools, all that, is going to come back to me. It's going to be subtracted from the amount that I'm going to remit to the government come tax season. Also, as a business owner, you are required to pay out Canada Pension Plan payments on all the money that you earn. So there's a certain percentage for every year come tax season for that. So that's extremely important as well. The other thing I wanted to talk about, other than taxes and bookkeeping when you're doing this for TaskRabbit, is also business liability insurance. And this is incredibly important because remember, TaskRabbit is contracting you out. So you are not an employee of TaskRabbit, which means business liability insurance is a must-have. You need to have this. You need to contact your insurance broker, let them know what you're doing exactly, especially the different tasks, because they may require different insurances. You need that business liability insurance. If something goes wrong and it's your fault and you're held liable for that, that can be big bucks that you're not going to be covered for if you don't have that business liability insurance. So be sure to get that. That is without exception, you need that. And finally, talking about insurance, you might want to get some sort of personal insurance to cover you in case you get injured, because TaskRabbit is a physical, it relies on you physically. So if you get injured and you're not physically able to work, you may be wanting to recover some of those lost wages. So be sure to check into personal or workers' insurance for yourself. I hope this information helps you when you're deciding to whether or not to do TaskRabbit. Maybe as a side job, it can be really good because you're not going to make over that $30,000 limit, so that HST is all yours to keep. But remember, you are still a business owner. You still need the business liability insurance to cover yourself. That's it. Be sure to subscribe, leave us a comment if you have any more questions or anything to add to this video about TaskRabbit.